down. Okay, we're here. Turn all the way down. Yeah, you can't hear me. Okay, we're good.
Still hear it?
Off of what?
I think it's your mic.
I don't know. How about now? Well, we're here. I don't hear my voice. Good? We're good. Okay, we'll start. Still hear something.
I hear it on mine.
We're here, guys. We're just trying to figure this out. What's up, Rick? I'm running this on my channel on YouTube. So if you want to jump over to YouTube, I've heard good things on YouTube stuff, but you can see us both, so we're good. We are not tying. We're just talking stuff. So I'm trying to figure this out because we got audio issues. Oh, that was maybe mine. I don't know why it does that.
That's weird.
Can everybody hear okay? Maybe not.
Yeah.
We're good.
Is there an echo?
We're good. Got a few people here and there.
They're coming.
We'll give a minute to let people go.
Yeah, there's the echo.
As long as you guys can hear okay, we're good. It's an echo on our side, so sounds a little weird. But we're good. We'll get started. All right.
Somebody went on a trip?
Yeah, got out of the house finally.
Where'd you go?
Pyramid Lake. Over outside of Reno, Nevada. So yeah, I went there for the first time, fished it, and learned a bunch of stuff. So it was fun. It was good.
Yeah, what was different?
Stillwater fishing, it's way different. It's I mean, if you stillwater fish, there's different ways you might approach it, and Pyramids definitely has its own way. Big, huge lake, big, huge fish, and so you got to use different gear. You can't just show up with your 5-weight or even your 6-weight and expect to catch fish and to fight them and to get them in. So big nets, big flies, big fish. Not even big flies, but just chironomids.
Big
So
for us.
that was different, yeah. Big casts, big bobbers, big fish. But that was the main thing that I was seeing. So I know there's been a few people out there previously, and when I was there were some people, and now there's some people out there now, so they're fishing it. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's a trip, man. It's a different thing from throwing blue wings and caddis and stuff like that on the river. So yeah. Way different. Slight echo. Let me dump. That's on that one. Slight echo. Got a microphone on, that's why.
Those two mics.
Let me dump this out. Hold on. Okay, let's try that. We'll try this.
No.
But it's still weird. All right, we're trying it. I'm gonna disconnect stuff, so if you can hear, it'll be good. I don't know why.
So you went out there with a couple people, yeah?
Yeah. Buddy Kenny and his buddies, and we went out there, fished for 5 days, and main thing there is that you want to go with bad weather, and that's good and bad. It's good because the fishing is always better. Waves, big waves, wind, that kind of stuff, cooler temps, cloud cover. We had 3 days of fairly nice weather with bright blue skies and calm water, and it was tough. If you don't know what you're doing the first time you go out there, it's boring actually, because when the fishing's slow, it's just boring. You're just staring at a bobber
Yeah.
and hoping it goes down, but it doesn't. So it was pretty bad the first day just because nobody's catching fish. So we had a group of 8 people that were in our group in our area, and 8 people, 8 rods, 8 hours, and nothing. So it was rough. Second day, we got a guide. So we got a guide with Pyramid Fly Company,
Okay.
and Cole works out there. So we hired him, and he got us into some fish. Not a lot, but there was nobody else catching fish, so
That's
that's the benefit.
yeah.
And just adjusted things on our casting, and adjusted weights and depths and flies and everything. Just little stuff that you don't really know, especially going to a new place like that. You know what you're doing, you know how to cast halfway decent, but then when the guide adjusts things for you, you start seeing fish, and that's the big benefit of that. So,
Yeah.
so that was the main thing, and then day three back on our own. We got a few fish, but not many. And then day 4 and 5 were weather changes, and that really made a difference. So
So you went from sunny to overcast and you found
windy, yeah, storm rolled in, and lots of wind and lots of cloud cover, and right off the bat you can tell it was a different day because those fish were eating, cruising and eating. So there was plenty of bobbers down that day, and it was good.
Steve.
Freaks, freak fish, or you talking about the fish or us?
He probably is.
Yeah, so that was good. Just learning the setups, the leaders, because it's a different ballgame, right? Leaders, tippets different, flies are different, knots are different. All of that stuff is just different from what we're used to. Tying on small flies and weights and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
you go there and it's just depths are key, and cruising fish is key, weather's key, and just patience. Because if you don't have the patience, man, it's boring.
Patrick says you've heard that bluebird sky days can be tough out there.
Yeah, like zero fish days. That's kind of what we experienced was zero fish.
So you're a guide, and you guys got a guide, right? And that's something that I wanted to talk about, because I feel like the more I talk to people about that, I'm a guide, and they're like, "Oh, you deal with beginners all the time," you know. And I think that's a very big misconception. I feel like people that want to learn different techniques, and they want to learn, different styles of fishing, should go with multiple guides, because each guide really kind of perfects their own style, their technique and stuff. And if you learn multiple, I mean, you can transition through those on different rivers and find out
Right.
what works for what river or lake. It's not necessarily, oh, I've never been to this state, I should get a guide. It's like, oh, maybe I should see how else I can fish this water, I should get a guide.
Right. Yeah, and that's as guides, we see a lot of people traveling to our South Platte, Arkansas rivers, and a lot of them are beginners, right? They don't know exactly what they're doing or casting, all that kind of stuff. But we do get a fair amount of travelers that come here because they're on work or whatever, and they bring their own gear, or they just leave it at home but rely on us for gear. They know how to fish, but they don't know how to fish our rivers. And just like I didn't know how to fish that lake, I had the other guys that had experience, but it was more about learning as we all go. And after that trip, we had a better understanding of what we needed to do
Yeah.
to get into fish. And
Yeah.
same thing for us here,
And then you make friends, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Eddie pointed out. It's like I met Eddie through a guide trip, and we're still friends to this day.
Right.
And that's, I think, majority of us being guides, like that's where our friends do come from. They're either guides or they're clients,
Yeah.
because we don't have time for anything else.
Right. Yeah, I met plenty of people that are that I consider friends now, and I still guide them too.
Yeah.
So you can still do that, but yeah, definitely it's something that you don't think about. Maybe you think that you're better than the average person that gets a guide,
Yeah.
but you eventually learn that, hey, there's always something to learn, right? Something more.
And it depends on the guide you get too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're active in fishing, and you know a lot, right? And then you go and you're gonna book a guide because you want to learn more or how to fish better, then you should probably look into a guide that knows more, knows better. Somebody you've seen.
Yeah.
There's the list of names. That
And
you go down and.
We may have talked about this before, but I always tell people, find someone that knows more or as much as you do, and fish with them. You'll learn a lot, and that's just how you got to do it. Or if you know more than your buddy, just teach them, and they hang around you so they can learn. So there's two-way street on that, and So yeah, we get those people out here fishing on South Platte and Arkansas, and they learn a little bit more. And sometimes you get some locals that learn spots, and they just want to learn spots. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And you
Yeah.
show them, and you teach them what you know. The traveling anglers we get here, we show them as much as we can, just because it's a short time period to have people here and try to get into some fish, especially if it's fishing tough.
Yeah. I think it's always a good thing, and I will be the first to admit I've learned stuff from clients. You get
Yeah,
somebody that's from across the country, and then you're like comparing notes. Oh, they fish this way, and that's actually relevant to what the water flow is doing now. And you can kind of bounce things off each other, and you both figured it out together, which are really
right.
fun trips.
Yeah, and there's certain little things you never thought about that somebody says,
Yeah,
mentions or does, and you try to, and then it just opens up that conversation. Like, why do you do that? How do you do that? What's the purpose? And you learn some things sometimes,
yeah.
and stuff you never thought about, or stuff that people don't that they don't do here.
Like
Um,
pick up rocks.
yeah, yeah. Bugs are universal, but sometimes they're not reflective of certain areas in the east, and
Yeah,
vice versa.
yeah. And we got
But so yeah, I mean, getting a guide where you go somewhere, even though you know how to fish. If I go to Redding, California, there's a ton of water there, and yeah, I'd get a guide. You don't have to get a guide every single day if you're fishing 5 days. You don't
yeah,
you don't have to get a guide every single day unless you can pay for it and that kind of stuff. But just to get a day, just to kind of line it up, and so a lot of people do that. They spend one day on the water and they try to figure it out, and then they get a guide the second day and then put it
find
together
out what they're
better.
missing.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what we did. And then day 3, 4, 5, whatever, they're on their own and trying to reflect what the guide told them and kind of fish the way that they did with the guide. So yeah.
yeah. And there's always the private water options where you can really spend time with your guide, break down the water, and not have to rush to the
Not
next hole.
exactly. Yeah.
That's a huge plus too. I think those are more my favorite trips where hey, this is our body of water. Let's go through and nymph it, and then we'll go back through and dry it, or vice versa,
Yep.
and just go mess around. And
Yep.
it's really fun, and it's like so much better to take your time, be able to explain and break things down than hurry
Not
up and
yeah.
either catch it or don't, so we can go to the next hole.
Yeah. 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 We got 30 seconds here because there's somebody on our heels,
Yeah,
and we got to get to the next spot first, and then we're rushing and we're not explaining. We're not being able to give all that information that we want to.
yeah, we can give as much as we can before we gotta move.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's almost exhausting
Yeah. Yeah.
because you like get to the new spot, then you're like trying to reset and say, okay, now we're not making mends here where you gotta bend earlier or later.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll plug this in over here just real quick.
What rod setup were you using out there?
Oh, so yeah, pyramid. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Let me plug in this microphone on my YouTube side, see if I can. So rod setups, yeah. So you hear a lot about ladders on pyramid, and that's a big thing, and it depends on where you are. We didn't take ladders; we flew, and so we had access to a couple ladders that we used a few times here and there, but for the most part, we were fishing off the rocks. And if you're on the rocks, you can't really back cast like a 7 or 8 weight because you're slamming your flies into the rocks behind you and you're trying to get it out. And so that was a big thing that I learned, and I heard that before. So switch rod is the way to go if you're fishing either on ladders or on rocks. You can definitely get that switch rod out there. What I'm running, I think the favorite that everybody kind of mentions is an 11 foot or 11 foot 6 inch 7 weight switch rod, and that's a beast, man. Came back and I picked up a 5 weight, and that's a little tiny rod. So the switch rod is definitely something you can punch in the wind, and there's a lot to learn and with lines, and over the last few weeks, just kind of figuring out how to cast first of all, and then how different lines are manufactured, and there's mow tips you have, and I I would look over at Kenny and make a good cast, and I'd look over at him and tell him, hey, remember I didn't even know how to spell switch rods a couple of weeks ago, and now I can cast them. So there's a lot to learn, and if you're going out there and you have lots of time. I think you want to invest in maybe a switch rod, a good reel, some line, learn the leaders, and tie up a bunch of chironomids, balanced leeches, all that kind of stuff, and then put it all to use. And you'll find out that it's not so much that there's one good pattern out there. It's just a matter of if the fish are eating or not, if they're cruising and eating. Um, and you'll fish with buddies a lot of times or other people, and you'll see, down there they're hooking up, and so sometimes it's just the fish cruising in that area, and maybe your depth is wrong, or maybe your flies are not exactly what they're looking for. So you try to get a feel for what the flavor is of the day, and your depth. If it's windy, you might maybe want a heavier bead just to get your flies and keep them down low rather than bouncing up and getting a little too high. So you'll tie flies with heavier beads, different color beads, same fly. So there's a lot you can get into this really thick.
Kind of like your own nymphing, right?
Yeah, different options and different, not necessarily 1,000 patterns, but just more about this bead, this size, this color, all that kind of stuff. And then the other option, if you do have like a 7 weight or an 8 weight, you can throw streamers. And so that's one option you can do, especially in the windy stuff. If the fish are in close, you can go and throw streamers and get some action on that. The other option is popcorn beetles, and there's a bunch of different ways to fish, different things. I've seen, you watch Instagram or YouTube, whatever, you get ideas on what you can do. So popcorn beetles followed by leeches, especially if it's windy and you can keep those up near the surface, because you'll see a lot of fish just break the surface. It's almost like they're eating dries, especially in the mornings, and it's like mini dolphins. You just kind of come up and you see them, and you're just like, whoa, there's one right there. So you cast to it, but it doesn't really work that way because they're moving so fast.
Yeah, they're already past you.
Yeah, your trout fishing thought process kicks in where you see it rise, so you cast at it, but the fish is already
like
halfway down the lake because they're cruising so fast.
Like a bonefish.
Yeah, exactly. So, rods, 7 weights, with a what I ran was a Rio. Was it Rio? Yeah, Rio. Switch chucker, I think it was,
That's the
and a
one with
mount
that
tip.
line on it, right?
Yeah, so it feels like electrical cord on the front end of it, and then the other one's a lake chucker. So when you really dig into that stuff, you find out the lake chucker, I believe, has an integrated mount tip, essentially, whereas I added it to mine, and it gave me 10 extra feet. So put all that together, and you get yours, the lake chucker, and me a switch chucker, and we can cast the same distance, even though I have a mount tip. So still more ideas to deal with, but takes more testing and practice to see what works better than others. So this sort of rod setup we're using out there. So yeah, Douglas fly rod. They have a DXF, 11-foot, 6-inch, 7 weight. So that's the rod I was running, and then plenty of backbone. It worked fine. Did exactly what I wanted. I did cast a G Loomis NRX 11-foot, 7 weight, and that thing's a gun. Of course, it costs twice as much.
Yeah.
But it was a good rod. And so, you can get cheaper rods. They don't have to be the high end stuff. That's not necessarily needed, I don't think. So Reddington, that kind of stuff, those are good. Those work fine. And then a good reel. I just used a Lamson Liquid Max. Nice. And I did have a little problem with it, but nothing too major. So yeah. But that's a good question as far as the rods. If you're on the ladder, you can throw streamers, you can throw stuff, but when it gets really windy, I mean, it really, you're kind of huffing and puffing trying to get that rod out or the flies out there. So, got a question there.
That would be some of your parallels between pyramid and your normal high alpine lake. What might be some stark differences that you think of as well? I don't think there's much in common besides the rig.
Yeah, I mean, high country lakes and pyramid, that's, two different worlds. High country lakes, you're hoping for dry flies, dry droppers, that kind of stuff.
Small
Cruisers, sippers, chironomids that you can drop under a dry or something like that.
Yeah.
With your 4-weight, your 5-weight, maybe your 6-weight, something like that. Whereas pyramid is just big fish, When I talk about, a decent fish at pyramid, as far as what I know, You know, in mid-20s and up, those are, you know, those are good fish and those are common. Once you get into the upper 20s, you got some poundage on them, so about 8, 9, 10 pounds, somewhere around there. And then you get your 30-inch fish, those are bigger. 31, 32-inch fish, those are maybe 15 pounds, something like that, somewhere around there. So yeah, that's where the gear is needed. You know, fluorocarbon 10 pound, sometimes 8 pound, just depends.
Yeah, in high alpine, you know, you can go around the whole
Mhm.
lake. You can't just walk around pyramid. It's easier to cover, find where the fish are. I feel like you're rigging just so much different where you were going, and these big chironomids, and the way you have to build that leader to turn everything over.
Yeah.
Is so different than just you know kind of how we run, even like
Even at
big
spinny.
reservoirs. Yeah.
Yeah, even at spinny or Entero or something like that. So big difference in terms of just the gear that you're using, just big heavy lines, big rods, and chucking it out there and just letting it sit. So high country lakes are fun. I mean, you can throw dries and that kind of stuff and
Just not as complex.
stock fish and yeah, chase them down and throw rod or throw flies to them. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely two different worlds. Appreciate you guys.
No problem. Man.
Thank you for tuning in. We like doing this, and you know the interaction we get is good. We need more questions from you guys, and we'll go from there. And it helps keep this flow going, rather than trying to think of something to talk about, or rehash a lot of stuff. We will rehash a lot of stuff just because it changes all the time. And
Yeah.
you know the seasons. We did this a few weeks ago, and it was still kind of winter time. Now it's spring and
No,
windy,
it's
nasty
spring.
wind. Who loves the wind? I don't.
Yeah, but it's bringing out the mayflies,
Yeah,
and I
warms
like
up.
it. It's warming things up. There's a lot of betas going around, a lot of big mayflies. We saw a lot of like stones.
Why
do
do
you
you
fly
fly fish? Think harder. We can't think that much.
Why do I fly fish? To get away.
Yeah.
Just to get away, get out of my head, get out of
Get into
society, get
own
out
head.
of. You know, it's I don't know. To me, it's like going in space. It's like spacing out. Like you're not thinking of anything but what's in front of you. You're not thinking about, you know, when I get home. You're not thinking about the work week. You're thinking about, I see that fish. What's it eating? What's it doing? Or where do I need to go? You know, it's a big one. It's a hard one. But it's definitely to get away. It's to escape because there's just so much going on all the time that it's good to kind of almost feel brain dead. You
Yeah.
know?
It's just you and the fish, and you're trying to make the right cast and the proper presentation and the right flies. And you know, we spend so much time tying these flies, especially the two of us tying flies. And, you know, we're always trying to do something better, whether it be the flies or the lines, the leaders, the strike indicators, the tight line, Euro rod, Euro nymphs, beads. There's always so much that we're trying to do. And try to gain that edge, and I think a lot of you guys are trying to do that as well. And so when we get on the water, it's, for me, there's a lot of times where I have pictures of perfect runs and riffles that I want to fish, and I have certain ways. So yesterday I was actually able to do that with one of the sections that I had been on for years and years and years, and I've always said I want to be here when there's a good hatch. And we had a good hatch yesterday, and it wasn't great, but it was good enough, and there was fish rising. And you know, I stood there, and my ultimate vision for that was blue wing olives drifting and fish rising. And I'm standing there with one of my favorite rods, or a good rod, and a CDC Perigon. So I did it,
That's awesome.
and you know, it was just like, okay, let's mark that off. But it's not going to be the last time that I, you know, do that there. But it's going to take time to do that, and it took, I don't know, 15 or more years to get to that spot at the right time, with the fish doing what they're supposed to be doing and me having the right stuff. So yeah, takes a while.
It's like me getting your ass to the wand to fish a hopper wand on
Yep.
the wand with wand.
Yep,
It's gonna happen.
exactly. It's a plan, and it's
Been waiting for 20 years. but
Yeah.
it's-
and eventually it'll pan out. So yeah.
That'll be a day. But
Yeah.
that's there was one too. What shops are you guiding for?
Mhm.
I know I'm with Arbor and English Covey and the Broadmoor.
Yeah.
Where are you at? If you know you got English Covey and the Broadmoor.
English Covey, Broadmoor. Most of you guys won't be booking through the Broadmoor,
Yeah.
but if you do, look us up. English covey. So both English covey, which includes South Platte and Arkansas rivers, and I am also with Royal Gorge Anglers, which I call RGA, Canyon City, Colorado, and that's mainly Arkansas and Pueblo and some on the Dream. So it just kind of depends on what's going on because the Arkansas is a freestone and it does blow out, and so we got to have options. So sometimes we end up other places. So yeah, but that's what I. So three shops for me and three for you.
Yeah.
Where's Arbor?
Arbor's in Denver, so they cover, all the way up to, from Rocky Mountain National Park, they go up to like, I took some trips on Roaring Fork last year. So it gives me a good range. It really
breaks it
allows us-
up.
Yeah, so when things start to get warm down here, I can go up higher and get out of some of the heat. So I think it's a nice escape, and there's some great people that work out there, and it's nice to be able to kind of work with the group we have at the Covey, which are also just amazing guys, and learn from them, learn from the Arbor guys, and then learn with the Broadmoor. It's a cool combination.
There's
of
a
places.
combination you're talking about. Different guides, different ideas, and different thought processes,
Yeah.
and young guides, old guides, middle guides, and you can always learn from the young guys. I learned plenty from them, and they have their own ideas, and then the older guys have their own ideas, and you have your own ideas. So if you can share, that's always awesome.
Yeah, you don't compete.
Yeah.
It's a grow together type thing, not a let me race you to the fucking river.
Yeah, and that's something I've learned too. Is like if we got together on a trip, which we've done, especially the Broadmoor,
Yeah.
we take families out, and again, it's the same thing. It's like you get mom and dad going, and you get the kids. Maybe let one guide take the kids, and somebody takes mom and dad, and get them fishing. Let them have their 4 hours of not worrying about the kids, and the other guide's dealing with them, and they get fish, and they can show mom and dad, and it's not a competition, especially when families are involved. So we have to approach it that way, and just have if mom and dad get fish and kids don't, we want kids to get fish. So then we work with them a little harder, or vice versa. But a lot of times, mom and dad just want kids to catch fish. So that's always a plus when we can get those kids.
There was one. Do you guys like to fish by yourself or in a or in a group? Today I fished in a group. I like that when I'm trying to see what a river's doing and really fully understand what the fish are eating. I mean, it's hard to beat knowing I've got 4 guys with me that all know how to fish really well. We all have different flies. By the end of the day, we know what they will and what they won't eat, relatively speaking, right?
Yeah.
At least for a week. But there's times, definitely where if I, had a long week and need to get away and just, like I was saying, just zone out and just be gone. I like being alone.
Mm-hmm.
I like to break down the water. I like to look at bugs when I want to. I like to move when I want to without having to yell at someone. So it's easier to cover more water and really, escape alone. But, it is good having the right people with you too, because you can surround yourself by some dillweeds, and then it's just more stressful of the day.
Yeah. I'm kind of both, again, depends on what's going on, where we're going, if there's enough room or not. Sometimes there's just too many people for a certain river, especially in wintertime, it's like the worst time to go fishing in a group is that if you have 4 people and there's room for 2. And sometimes you can swap spots or whatever, but you just like, I just want to fish, catch fish. But like you said, you can kind of figure out what's going on. I do like fishing by myself a lot because I'm kind of that lone wolf. That, and I'm kind of a lone wolf, and just like to, like you said, just go zone out and just be there and do what you want. Like there's certain times where I'm like, I'm just going to take 10 minutes to re-rig and put this rig on and test it out and see how that works, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to change flies. And so you can approach water differently and on your own a lot of times, and just kind of mess around in your own terms and not have to worry about trying to keep up with the next person. They're catching fish, but I want to try this and I may not catch fish, and you get caught in that competition almost.
Yeah.
Where you want to keep up, or you catch as
And
many
it's a
fish.
non-verbal competition. Nobody said anything. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you'll slowly be working up a run. You're like, can't wait till I get to that part of it. And then your friend comes in around you and you're like,
hops over, yeah.
But I also find myself when I'm alone, I'll change flies while I'm catching fish on current flies.
Just to see.
But when I'm with people, I feel like I don't have the time to do that. So I'm just trying to move.
Exactly.
And so yeah, it's just a subconscious like
Yeah. And then if
competition.
you start banging fish and your buddy's not, you're just kind of like, you almost find yourself slowing down and just kind of like half-assing
Or
things.
sitting down and waiting for them to come catch a fish so you can feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and then you start out days too where you're fishing fairly decent, but your buddy's up 5 fish above, up in numbers, and you're just like, man, I barely can cast. And so yeah, it just depends. So a lot of times I just take off and go on my own and don't tell anybody,
Yeah.
just so I
I'd
don't
say
have to
for
worry
every
about
3
it.
group trips, I need a solo trip.
Yeah.
I think, and that's kind of a fun thing. Or go out with a group of friends and just split up. There's one. Do you take out any Stillwater trips here in Colorado? We do. You do.
We try. So normally we do offer it, and we have permits for that, like Spinney and Taro and 11 Mile Res and with Terriel.
Terrio.
It's just hard to get people to go there.
Yeah, they want to hit all the rivers, the gold medal waters that are right there. But
Yeah.
if you're specifically wanting to learn Stillwater, I mean, those are
Yeah.
some of the best trips, and we even have some access to some private lakes
Yeah.
to where you could really take your time, break it down, not have to worry about being crowded. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do with clients coming up with high flows is to go out to these lakes and explore. I even have 2 those single man pontoons that I take people out on, and
Yeah.
I'll do a 1-person trip with that just because it's a lot with 2 people. But
Yeah. Yeah, so I've done trips in the past, and it just doesn't pan out sometimes, just because number one, one big thing is people can't cast, regular single-handed fly rods. So you get them out there, and sometimes it's just like, we need to be 10 feet further, 15 feet, 20 feet further than where you're casting. We need to be right at the edge of the weed beds, and
yeah,
we got to wait out a little bit and get a little further cast, and they just can't do it. So sometimes it defeats that purpose, and or it's windy or something's going on, and especially if it's windy and they can't cast it, that's where it really causes us trouble
yeah.
on the walk wade side of things. So
That's where those boats come in handy.
Yeah.
You get the wind at your back and just anchor it somewhere and just be able to kind of roll cast off of it. But
yeah,
then you have the endless amount of water to cover, so it's
right. So yeah, we do it. We just don't do it a lot, I think, and we offer kayak stuff, and which could be good and bad, the same thing, or pontoons with motors, and we can haul you in a float tube or something like that. And I don't personally do that because I don't have that gear, but I know like Kenny does that, and
yeah.
get you in a float tube and just get a rope and then take off on the pontoon with a motor and get you to a certain area
Yeah.
and just work that water, and then can move as you need. So yeah, so there's definitely options, but and kayaks as well.
I mean, it's just so weird with the kayaks. You have to trust.
I've not done one, but I've heard.
Like it's stable by all means, but the hoobies, it's like you have to experience it, trust it for a day, and then you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you get on that thing, you feel like you're just gonna go over it, so you really splotchy when you cast.
Yeah.
But they are fun. They're worth messing around on. We'll have to go up to some of these and take them out. Jake can be my net guy any day.
Oh, that's him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we offer that. It's just not a lot of people take advantage of it, just because they want to do rivers, and that's understandable. It's a quick trip, and it's just kind of something that they're used to and we're used to, and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Wait. We got somebody offered to cook.
Wait, what?
Right? Hey, he said Jake can be the net guy, and Randy will cook.
Okay.
I'm down. That's a
Where is
big
that?
deal.
My visit all the summer Stillwater trout is something I've become infatuated. Would love to learn more about. Yeah, sinking
Yeah.
line game. Yeah.
Here, come out.
Yeah, and it just takes more gear in a sense. 6-weight rods, maybe 7-weight on your local Stillwaters, depending on what's going on. Our Stillwaters. And then sinking lines and different flies, and so yeah, sometimes it's like somebody may ask me, hey, I want to be super specialized on a trip, can you do this? And I'll be like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable, I don't have the gear, the flies, and all that kind of stuff, but I can send you on to so and so.
Yeah.
So we can make it happen. But yeah,
Or we can go out and fish.
yeah, or we can figure it out together.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. All right, we'll take more questions, guys. Keep us rolling. Yeah. and so we'll take more questions. But we're basically talking spring fishing. Spring fishing with the wind. The wind has been nasty. Tried doing some tight line Euro stuff, and that
Mayflies,
doesn't work that
caddis,
well.
stoneflies.
Yeah, it's all the good stuff.
Lots of good stuff going on. Let us know if you have any questions. Just throw them out there.
Yeah, and then let us know where you've been fishing, what you've been finding.
What you've been catching them on, what sizes, send a pin.
Yeah. What flies? I did the West Denver fly tying, the West Denver Trout Unlimited fly tying thing today.
Oh yeah, what was that?
It was really thin today. Crowds. Everybody was out
Well,
somewhere.
It was nice. It was windy, but it was nice.
It was nice. Yeah, I think compared to the past few years, there was a lot of people just out and about. They weren't worried about fly tying or fly fishing. I think they were fly fishing in the on the rivers, the lakes. Spring break is this week, so I think the timing was just wrong.
Yeah.
Skiing, I think a lot of these people may be trying to get their last ski trip in of the year. And what's the other one? Oh, basketball. Who doesn't want to just stay home and watch games all day? I mean, there's definitely some people really involved in the basketball world, and that's kind of so all those things put together. I think nice weather.
That brings up a good point. Reds.
Always talking about reds.
So, have you noticed this year that you'll see reds in the morning and there'll be no fish on them, and then about noon, 1 o'clock, fish on them. I think fish have been on reds in the lower arc now for going on 4 weeks.
Yeah, where we're at March, yeah, somewhere around there. I haven't been to the
Why for
lower.
4 weeks? I don't know.
Just a
But I think it's
long-
the fluctuation in temperature, the fact that they're in and out of it. That's a big one. Today I was up on South Platte. I mean, very few reds I saw. I didn't see anything on them. So if I was going to fish, that's a good place to focus.
Yeah.
Dream Stream, there's fish on reds. Go away.
Well, the Dream's at 50 CFS as far as I know.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely reds, and now those reds are very thin. So more important not to walk through them and just let them be.
Just don't go.
It's like a minefield. You just have to kind of zigzag and stay away.
Just don't go.
Yeah, or don't go. Yeah, yeah, and so I was hearing, and I didn't experience it, but down lower on that lower section of the Dream, where all those fish usually spawn, just reds, but people lined up. And this was a few weeks ago. They're gone.
I heard
The
this.
people are gone. The fish are gone. The
fish
reds
didn't
are
come
still
back.
there.
Yeah, the fish didn't come back.
But people just lined up on those reds, is what I heard.
That sucks.
Like
That's the Dream, though, man. Like,
it is.
That's
It needs to
sadly what
be. It does
became.
need to be closed,
It needs to
or
be
at least that
closed.
lower section needs to be closed. I don't care about the upper section. There's still fish there. You can manage that a little bit better and just kind of. But there should be a.
From that fish ladder down, they just
Yeah.
need to close it in the spring and the fall for the spawn, because it's not getting backed off of, and it sucks.
Yeah, and there's a good amount of fish in there, and you can catch fish, and maybe not the big boys, and can't get your Instagram picture and video for YouTube or anything like that. But hey, that's just something you live with. I mean, I think it should be closed for a few weeks at least.
Yeah, I don't see why it'd be a problem. I know a lot of people would obey by it.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of sucks. Upper arc has been good all the way up to Buena Vista.
It's getting pounded by people that normally don't fish it. I've noticed that, and it takes away that a little bit, but you got to know how to fish it too.
Reds up there? I haven't seen any. I've been up there twice.
And I have not seen any. They do spawn. There's a lot more rainbows this time of year. There used to be 90% browns, and now it's like
50-50 almost.
50-50 at least, if not 60 or 70% rainbows, depending on where you're at. But so yeah, a lot of browns on the one today, and
Yeah, that's
Betas,
what's up.
yeah, that time of year, man. Betas is ruling the world, and we love it.
You'll look at some solid fishing starting now, and next month's going to be just incredible at the lawn. So if you guys have any plans of going down there, feel free to reach out. We both know a lot of guides down there. If you're looking at a guide, if you're looking at some fly selections or stuff, let us know. Feel free to shoot us messages.
Yeah, and let us, because we want to share this information if there's reds.
Yeah.
It's kind of late now, but where you're seeing reds and just stay off of those as much as you can, that kind of stuff. I was at Pueblo a few weeks ago. I didn't see any reds where I was at, but it didn't mean they were spawning or not spawning.
There's sections, and you just got to be aware of what sections they are, and just don't be the asshole that sits on them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, Juan's gonna film you, he's gonna post you. Just know it. If he sees you, he will film you and post you.
I got these awesome sheets from my buddy, and I'll have to show them to you later, but they're pretty awesome that you can put on somebody's car. Saw you fishing reds, or just stuff like that. I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, it's funny. It's silly, but that's just it sounds like it's a broken record type deal, but it's still a problem. So we're gonna keep talking about it.
Yeah, fall twice a year.
It sucks. I get it. And at least in the fall, you can go fish Stillwater a bit. You can get away from some of the spawning fish, even though they spawn in the lakes, but you can't really target them so much.
It's harder to
you can
set up on a riffle and rape the reds.
Yeah, and so it's just it's a little bit different, but coming into spring, I get it sucks. Yeah. Like, we get that.
Put them on blast. Yeah, I did. I've done it. Yeah. You guys may have seen that back in when was that? There was
fall.
Well, it wasn't fishing reds. The one that I really was upset about was the shuffling. Yeah, in Deckers, and there was two guys that were just obviously shuffling, like
walking
kicking their feet
way downstream
and straight downstream. And I confronted one of them, and he said, "What do you care?" And it was just like, "It's wrong. I don't care." And what do you say to that? You can cuss at them, but it's not going to change their thought process on anything. So it was really discouraging on that. And my client was there with me, and he's just like, "Man, that's bad."
What's worse is when you have like 3 clients, and the one that you're not close to starts doing it too, because he sees them catching a fish or snagging a fish that way, and you're like, "Stop it!" And they're like, "Well, he's doing it." Yeah, it's like, I just yelled at him too. You stop it.
Yeah, don't do it, man. And they are bootlickers, and it's when you first start fly fishing, you see them, and you're just like, "How do I catch those fish?" And I'll give a little bit of leeway because people. I've talked to people before and said, "Hey, don't do that. This is why." And they're like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I nicely told you, don't do that, because you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know." So.
Yeah, and it's out of respect, it's a guide telling you, somebody that works there. It's like going into a store and an employee saying, "Hey, don't do that."
Yeah.
It's like, you should listen, but we'll just keep repeating it until we see a difference, but it's always going to be that way. You're always going to have those people
fishing straight under their feet. Yeah, exactly. When you see it when you're driving up and down the Y road or wherever it may be. If water is flowing down the hill and people are faced down the hill, and their line and rod is faced downhill, they're just fishing at their feet, and that's not cool.
You may as well just tie a line to your shoe.
Yeah, I'm like, why do you invest all the time and effort to get there to do that?
Just unlace your laces and tie your hook on.
Yeah.
Just let it hang.
Put some cheese whiz on there or something. I don't know.
Sourdough. I don't know, man. It's frustrating seeing that, especially like when you see so many of these people now actually making etiquette, efforts. I've seen a lot of people pick up trash, which has been awesome to see.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, like Deckers hasn't been nearly as nasty as it usually is. So props to people for actually cleaning up shit. But and then you get that one asshole that's just like walking down the middle of the fucking river, and you're just like, "I thought we were there." I thought we made it there. No, you did not.
Yeah, no hope for that. So yeah. Start throwing questions, guys, and we'll just kind of feed off of that and go from there.
BWO could capitalize on that too. You just click it, it reels it in.
Yeah,
boot reel.
BWO. drop the trolling line out behind your boots.
Yeah, the BWO boot reel.
Yeah, and then just click your
other foot on it.
Or you could probably put an app and just be like, "Reel."
Siri, reel.
I mean, That's pretty much it. Sounds silly,
That's how
but
it
that's
feels.
what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And you guys have all seen it. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm sure some of you may have done that in the past. And I'm not going to say I didn't do it when I started fishing because that's it's the truth. It's like you do it once or twice, and then you find out like, hey, that's not cool. You're like, okay, okay, I won't do it then. So yeah, definitely.
Let's talk Perdigons, dude, because we both have been talking about it for a couple weeks now. We both talk about how dumb they look, but we also know how effective they are.
Yeah.
We both have fished them barbed hooks, barbless hooks, under an indicator, on a Euro rig, on a tight line rig. They work.
They do.
There's no doubt about it.
They do.
Why do they look so goofy?
Because there's a big old bead on there. We're two fly tires that don't like beads on our bugs for the most part, and then you get these things with offset beads, drop beads, insta jig beads, and they look goofy. I told you, I looked at one of your flies. I'm like, that looks wrong.
And it caught fish.
And
A lot of fish.
it does look wrong.
But it does. It looks wrong, and it's such a weird. But then you hold like a natural Perigon, say normal bead, normal kind of down eye hook. You look at a normal Perigon and compare to a Betis, and you're like, it's a Betis with no legs.
Yeah,
Right.
which we are in our brains. They have to have legs.
Yeah, which the first pheasant tails did not have
Legs.
legs. So we're kind of now
Was
reversing.
that the first Perigon?
Pretty much, right? And it was effective.
Yeah.
So are we evolving and now hitting that point where we're having to go back with new materials?
So you go back
and
to
then-
create this, and you just completed a circle to
Yeah.
the first copper wire pheasant tail with no legs. Did it have a bead? But it didn't have a bead, but it had weight, right?
So I mean, it just
I don't know. They work,
they do. They
and
work.
you can time to make them look pretty, or at least as pretty as thread and resin can get.
I feel like it fights the woolly bugger for if I had one fly.
Really?
I think it'll fight the woolly bugger. Like that's two in a UFC ring. I'd like to see go at it.
So a few years back, actually, this was, a few years back, MFC. That was like the best, greatest thing ever. Put together March Madness, and they put a bracket with flies.
That's funny.
I think I won that freaking thing.
That'd
The
be cool.
split back,
We
Slim
should
Shady.
do that.
That was the greatest thing ever because they put up against, you got a streamer against a Perigon, let's say, and a dry fly versus like a chubby against this, So there was just like in March Madness, there was matchups that you're like, oh, out of the first round, you're looking at a chubby versus a Sculpzilla,
Oh,
something like that. You're like, what do I do? Who do I pick to go on to the next round? And then there was, Royal Wolf versus this, and it was pretty cool. And I should pitch that again to them. They need to get on that really quick.
high
I'm
hole,
gonna-
low hole. Oh, here.
I'm
jump
gonna
in.
refill real quick.
High hole, low hole, Juan. I see less of it, personally speaking. Just people not getting as close. It's still there. It's still around, and it depends where you go. I'd still say the lower arc. I get high hold, low hold, back hold, front hold all at the fucking same time.
Side hold.
Side hold, yeah.
Bagged.
Yeah, it's just like a hula hoop of fucking people. It's kind of like the whole fishing reds thing. It sucks. It is that much you can do besides educate and move on before you lose your shit and get yourself in more trouble. And that's kind of it's kind of a double-edged sword, It's just it's gonna happen. It may always happen. Juan does it to me all the time. So
Well, it's
I
just
mean-
like fishing with your buddies and they go and jump.
yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's like when you fish with your friends and you finally looking at that spot you want to hit, and your friend comes out of the bushes and jumps into that spot, and you're like,
thing.
"Damn, it's the same thing." Juan, have you ever floated the Rio Grande by Pilar or Taos? I've done the one by South Fork,
Upper.
the upper, which is awesome. Streamer fishing, it was awesome. Hopper dropper fishing, it was awesome. They get salmon flies, which is awesome. worth doing. Definitely worth checking out. Have you done up by Pilar? I haven't gone down there.
I have. I've not floated it. I have. I've fished it plenty, not a ton, but enough to get my butt kicked so many times that I didn't want to fish it. But that was probably 15, 20 years ago. I fished it a lot and got my butt kicked a lot, and came to Colorado after that and didn't get my butt kicked. So, yeah, haven't floated it.
I feel that trout feeding consistently is amazing. Just looking at
What's that?
says that he feels like that trout are feeding consistently mainly are just looking at color and body profile.
That they're feeding consistently, body and color. And
It's kind of broad when you put it that way because the profile of a bug can change when it's changing, right? So if if you're looking at a Betis profile, your typical Betis profile, people are going to picture either the Perigon or they're going to picture a Betis with legs coming up. Now, then you got a Betis emerger, which is a Betis with legs coming out and a wing now emerging, right? So that could be classified under your profile. But I think they look for triggers. So the wing coming out looks like a piece of flash, looks like a white case, looks like a color change on their back. So I think that would be a key trigger that they look for if they're feeding rapidly. Looking for a shuck coming off the back of an emerger is a huge thing. Juan just did a YouTube video for a loop wing on his, what was it, the Slim Shady loop
the
wing?
slim, yeah.
Yeah. Check it out. He uses body quill coming out for a tail, and that looks just like a shuck coming off that fly, which is another thing I think they trigger. And then emergent bugs usually fill with a gas or an air, which also looks like a white rib, a silver flash, a bead of some sort. So you get all these kind of components. And so I think based off of what they're looking at in a bug, that's what they're going to key in on, whether it's the flash, the wing, the shuck. It's going to be something physical about
Trigger-wise.
that fly that's triggering them. It could be an orange collar too, which tends to
Yeah,
be heavy.
yeah. You got a lot of waves, man, on your side.
Yeah. It's because I'm nice to people and you just yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
Running into spin and bait fishermen. Same kind of thing. Dream stream, lower arc. Deckers, it seems like it's still too cold for them. They come out with the moles.
So, real quick story here. Last fall, maybe it was, last summer, dude comes walking down at the Dream Stream, comes walking by me with a cooler, walking kind of up to me. He has one of those little coolers. And
The lunch igloos?
Yeah, the igloos. And so I'm just kind of joking. I'm like, hey, you got burritos in there? What are you doing, selling them? And he's like, what? And I said, what do you have in the cooler? You got beer? And he said, oh, no, I'm trying to catch some fish so I can keep them. And I look at him. I'm like, not here. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, you can't keep any fish here. He's like, really? I said, yeah, it's all catch and release. And so he believed me, which is true. And, I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, well, I'm going somewhere else. So he walked straight up to the parking lot, but he was expecting to keep fish.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But as physically seeing them, I haven't seen any since, summer. And that's where we're going to see it, coming into June, July, August. And just, one, know your regulations yourself, because I've heard fly fishermen yelling at bait fishermen in places they can fish bait. Now, whether we think it's good or not, we can't be yelling at somebody if they're following regulations. So I think that's a big problem I ran into at Deckers is there's areas you can, right? And
Pueblo as well.
And then if you get fly fishermen yelling at them there, then they run upriver more, and then they actually go into the river, flies and lures only section, especially 11 Mile. I've seen people yell at people down low, and then they end up high by the tunnels, and you're like,
That's not where they're supposed to be.
you're like, you're supposed to be back down there. They're like, well, this guy just told me to come up here. And
Yeah.
It's like, just know your regulations if you're going to give somebody pointers and say something. But also, I feel like people are just getting more to the point of just saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And if they talk back, just walk away.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I know 3 people that have gotten in fights on the river. They will come take your truck. They'll take your fly fishing gear. If you have any weapons or guns on you, they'll take those too.
Good.
Yeah, it's just,
I was just thinking, into March, your licenses are up.
that too.
Got to renew. I need to renew, but just remember that, just so you don't get caught.
Yeah, get your license.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can get it like up to a week early or something like that.
I think people already have it ordered.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
to get them ahead of time is good, so you don't forget, and then be out on the river and go, oh shit.
Yeah. Because it sneaks up on you, definitely. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at now, just spring fishing and Perdigons. Let's go back to Perdigons because there's a lot to talk about because
It's been a hot subject
we like them and we hate them and we like them, but you know, there's so much you can do. There's so much. There's easy as putting a tail and a body, a thread, and maybe a hot spot or dubbing, and that's it.
Here, you grab that box. I'm gonna get a Perigon box. Let's put some visuals in front of us.
Got a box for sale here.
Yeah, fuck you.
If you're looking to buy a box of Perdigons, it's filled. What do you want to sell it for? 12,000? 11?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you got 11K, we'll sell it. Got a few.
Just a couple.
So it's about 3 pounds of tungsten in here.
And then we got Perigon.
But here's the deal. Let me tell you guys something out there. This is not filled. That's okay. Right? That's okay. What does this mean? This box is not a show box. This box is a fishing box because there's gaps, there's holes, there's missing bits and pieces. So that's how you tell somebody that fishes versus somebody that doesn't fish. Okay?
Yeah, you'll see people that post boxes like this that are full and they stay full.
Tell me that you don't fish without telling me you don't fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of gaps in here, and you'll find that. Just, you know, if you have a pretty box that's full to the brim, then it doesn't get it doesn't go to the river. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just a little.
But the main thing is sizes, right? We were talking about that earlier. To have your confident Perigon pattern, but have it all the way down to like a 2 mil bead on maybe a 20 or an 18, and then go down up to like a 16, maybe a 14 if you're going to like the arc, I guess, upper arc.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that fish 12s and not here but elsewhere.
Yeah,
and you're just like,
but-
man, that's a big bug, but.
But it's not that big of a bead on it, so it's not really sinking as fast. So, yeah, oh shit. So there's a lot to it, right? And so I feel like having one pattern, you go 2 mil up to, let's say,
3.3.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe 3.5 at the most. And then you get into the whole Euro jig thing, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So going into the Perdigons, I like to tie that range. But then to tie that range in all the colors, you start to find that some of the bug colors don't get that big or they don't get that small. So brown is a universal. It goes the whole distance.
Mm-hmm. Olive.
Olive, most of the distance. I would say olive stops
Brown
at
goes, yeah.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green Jake's maybe bigger.
And then you get into the primrose kind of colors. I think stop more at the 18 range.
maybe 16. but-
Maybe 16, but I think that's more golden stone, less primrose, like lighter PMD color, kind of 18, 16, or 18, 20. But then we got like you've seen gray betas. I've been talking to this to a lot of people. I'm going to post it in a couple of days, but I tied this gray betas. And it's because I was talking to a bunch of people that fish gray betas, right? They're like, RST works good in a big size because it's like a gray betas that we see. And so that's another one, but it does stop fairly short. It stops at about I think a 18.
Yeah.
And so, you find these color ranges and you find that. So then that's why you see holes, because then I'll take out a bunch of the, like, say, golden stones. I don't see any golden stones really in anything below an 18.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe a 20, like a baby one here and there.
It's hard to.
But when you see them in quantities, you're seeing them at 18 and bigger.
Yeah.
Right? So I won't tie 22
No.
in that. I'm not worried about the smaller hook.
Well, here's the other thing too, that there's a lot of crossover. So, and I've talked to people about this too. Like, do you tie a pheasant tail in a size 24? I'm like, no, I don't, because I got other flies that work better. There's maybe an 18, then maybe a 20, but then when I hit 22, I'm not tying that pheasant tail. I'm fishing something different that kind of layers on it and fishes better and is more durable. So there's gaps, and then bigger pheasant tails. Maybe there's another pattern that fits better for a 16 and a 14 and a 12.
Perfect example is your crave betas, or my crave betas and your slim shady.
Yeah.
Right. There's they're similar, but mine tied in at 24 kind of fits a profile better because of that skinny ribbing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas then, like today, I wish I had your sniper betas and like an 18 because of what I was seeing was very thick and it had some rolls to it. It was bigger and buoyant. You know, it had the
Bulkier.
bulkier, meatier
Yeah.
kind of, and I was like, wow, that would have been, you know, what I
That
would have
would-
thrown
that's
in
what
that
you want,
instance,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then there's some times where I look at these small ones and I have like some of your Slim Shadies, the split case PMDs, perfect example of it. Great fly. I prefer the split case blue wing olive, just a little bit biased, but we see blue wing olives longer, and I feel like that's more relevant. So I tend to throw them everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that one doesn't fish so good in a 22 or a 20.
Yeah.
It fishes the best in an 18. Where if you take that split case with the yellow foam, the PMD, it rocks in a 20 in 22, but it doesn't fish so good in an 18.
It's
So-
bigger, definitely bigger.
So it's
Now, here's another thing on that split back PMD or any of them, but mainly that one. You can toss that as a small stonefly, and it crosses over there. So you're looking at different things
yeah.
as far as that goes. So yeah,
And so that's why I think like people that you know you really got to look into a bug because somebody did comment on that fly I posted and said it was a Slim Shady, and it was like, oh, you know, there's texture and body builds to certain flies for certain reasons.
yeah,
And the way the Slim Shady goes, though, the Slim Rib, it's so undermined because of what it does. And I think people don't, you know, obviously the locals don't. I saw Matt already holler out Slim Rib because Slim Rib is awesome. And you're a genius for finding it. You found it back when I was in middle school, which is how long you and me been coloring it and playing with it. But I remember when you gave it to me and I ribbed something. It was before I even messed with like the new D-rib, the stretchy D-rib.
Yeah.
Like it was that stiff
they had
D-rib.
that lace larva, or not
Yeah.
larva lace, and then they had the ice lace.
Ice
Hairline.
lace. And none of it was as soft. And so, and then you need rapid, it would get cracked or break. But Slim Rib was holding that goo look, and that was a breakthrough in my eyes. And I was like, wow, right? That's different than anything I've seen. And that's kind of, you know, motivational towards me as a tire. Goes, wow, what can I do to trigger something like that? And that's when I started messing with all, you know, the hen's body quills and stuff and layering them with different thread colors underneath. So now it's taking a Betis and able to change not only just a thread color to change colors. Now I can take a thread color and
Layer
change the top layer color and create a new color. And now I just like quadrupled my color spectrum of the possibilities for these flies. And so finding these things is how I feel we grow the industry is if I'm
The
not
ideas.
around, if I'm not around you for a long time and you're not around me, like I'm sure people will see it on social media. Both of us, we just start falling out. Like we don't do anything. But when you post and then I post and then we go fishing and we both post, it's like it's the way a fishing relationship should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like I said, just you know, find a fishing buddy or find a time buddy or find somebody that is either you know around equivalent to you or better,
That you
and
trust.
that you can just bounce stuff off
Yeah.
and learn from them, and it pushes both people in terms of you know, hey, we can do this or we can do that, and that's kind of what we're talking about.
That's why I like our team trips.
and this stuff too.
Like our group trips are kind of like this conversation. We're able to sit down and talk to you guys for a while. Then we're able to pick up rocks. I'm holding a rock and Juan can talk about this rock. And then I'll be reaching for a stick and be like, and then look at these scuds. And, you know, it's the way we fish and think complement each other,
Yeah.
right? And then we guide with people like, let's say, you know, Kenny's a perfect example. Kenny is a wizard, man. The dude knows his stuff, right? But he would kick both of our asses in Stillwater.
Yeah.
Like hands down, like easy, right? But we learned so much from him from that. You know, Steve Gossage, he's fished these waters longer than we've ever have. We learned so much from that guy. Even when we think we've learned it all, he'll blurt out something random, and you go, "Holy shit!" You know, that,
You're doing what?
yeah. Greg bless him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't ignore anything he says because he says it loud and proud. But one of the guys I've learned so much from, and it's mostly about people and how to handle yourself and how do you handle people, and it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely so. Here's something I want to throw out for specifically Colorado Springs people, but you know, it doesn't matter if you're in Canyon City or Denver, or Monument or Castle Rock, but
Sunday.
Sunday. So what I'm trying to do, and everybody is welcome. I'm trying to get an open fly tying afternoon going at Metric Brewing, and it's going to happen next Sunday. And so what it is you got a brewery with big long tables that are, you look at them, you're like, yeah, I'm going to tie there. And so you set your vise up just like you normally would do and just hang out with people that show up and just get together and bounce ideas and tie whatever you want. You have fly tying, you have beer that I believe is going to be discounted for the people that show up for fly tying. And then eventually, I think it's on April 6th, is one of our old friends that used to work at Angler's Covey, Blaze, which owns Orsetto Pizza. I call it the Pizza Wagon. He has a food truck fire, what do you call them?
Roasted pizza? Or
Yeah, the
fire
oven pizza, which is freaking amazing. And so he's going to start showing up. So that was kind of what got the wheels going. And so fly tying, pizza, and beer.
And me.
And that's a pretty good combo. So yeah, that's starting next Sunday, the 29th. And if I don't get a trip.
I'm gonna start doing that.
But that's just kind of.
And I would be like, damn, I want to tie here.
No, you would see those. You see those tables. You're like, yeah, I need that.
That table makes me want to tie some
It does.
flies.
and so that's the plan. And so the 29th of March, Metric Brewing, fly tying get together 1:00. So middle of the day, so you don't have to kind of plan for anything. Get some pizza. He's going to be there the 6th, so the first week I don't know who's there or what food options are there. So just kind of, but I was going to do it tomorrow. Didn't work out. So next week, and then the pizza wagon shows up, and that's the good stuff. So let's see what's going on.
Pizza next Sunday.
Pizza next Sunday. Metric Brewing. That's over on Circle, so it's kind of dead smack in the middle of town. So
we'll be there tying and helping and talking.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll hold Juan down and we can force some shots. You don't have to try too hard.
I don't know if they have shots there.
Okay, we'll just do a beer bong or something.
Okay.
We'll get Juan nice and toasty, and he'll be
throw some
comedy show.
Drop some knowledge on.
No, fuck your betas.
Mine's better. Here's why. It's got 6 legs. Yours has 7.
It's how it's getting these days,
Yeah.
man. Well, I split my tail, and you just threw a chunk in it.
So here's a question for you. Somebody asked me today, especially the Betas world, since we're in that season right now, is that do you tie a lot of patterns? The back half is one color and the front half is another color.
Kind
Do
of.
you like that, and why?
Hot belly betas. Main reason I did that is because you find, like, perfect example, a small blueing olive betas and a PMD beta side by side. South Platte. This is get specific. South Platte. You're looking at side by side. Okay, the PMD is a little more wood ducky than the bluing olive, right? They're about the same size, about the same profile. Okay, but if you flip them over, the belly's different.
Creamy.
Right? You got creamy.
Is that creamy?
Creamy on the PMD, and then you got the green on the blue and olive. And so I found that doing the cream collars on Perigons, doing just cream in general, is really helpful for PMDs versus yellow. Which you should do that with a split case for me, by the way. That would be cool. But cream, right? Because and that may just be what we see, because there's sulfurs that I know in North Carolina, so if their PMDs are more yellow when their wing comes out and stuff, it's different in different places. But yeah, I think it's hard to choose.
And I said, and more specifically, let's talk about the bar emerger, because that was kind of the OG.
Yeah.
Where you have that olive body with the gray, so you have to switch colors, right? Is that really beneficial in a Betas pattern?
I think so.
And I said not necessarily. My thought process was not so much on the Betas or the bluing olive bar merger as it is the PMD version.
Yes.
Because you got a brighter, more contrasting color on the PMD. So I truly believe in the PMD, where you have that two different colors versus the betas where you have dark and dark. So what I essentially was saying is that you get the betas with olive, kind of dark olive, and then gray, and then it gets wet, and it just kind of blends together.
But I'm talking more like what we were saying. I was showing you pictures from today on the South Platte. You see how like that has the stripes on the back?
Mm-hmm.
I like that versus what you're saying, you know, doing the front a different color than the back. I like hitting it with the marker and having the splotch here, a splotch there, a dark, a splotch there, a dark, because a lot of the mayflies are, you know, especially in our region, a lot of them have the kind of splotches on the back.
Yeah.
But if you flip them, they're not that way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
They're a solid
Two-tone.
color.
Two-tone.
Yeah, on the solid color.
and that's why you
But-
see.
But it's not all two-tone because it's only two-tone where the splotches are, because then otherwise it's that same color. And so that's what I've been finding a lot digging around. I know you've been on the upper arc with me looking around, and that's what we see. Even on the big mayflies, that belly
They're
is
very
one color. Stoneflies,
Yeah.
belly is the different color.
that creamy. It's always that creamy.
Yeah.
Even the betas.
And that's why I know
And then-
that they were bleaching the bellies of their Pat's rubber legs on like the South Platte
Mm-hmm.
or the North Platte and like the green and stuff, because that way it dyes that belly that color, and that as
Yeah.
it turns you get that two-tone effect, which I thought, you know, that's pretty genius. It's like the opposite of coloring the background.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just dyeing the.
That stonefly, you kind of there's some of those Pat style rubber legs, the turds or whatever you want to call them, where they run a cream colored underneath, and that belly's that creamy color. So, or like the old was it Bitch Creek or the
Yeah.
one of those old school ones that were different colors. So yeah,
And to me, the Stalk Cups betas, that's another good example. That's all gray on the back and gray in the front, and then has the whole body color. But that, to me, is one of the most effective flies at the front range,
yeah,
hands down. Like before, I really was tying like 5 different betas every day. That was the fly. I'd go and buy 100 of them every year, size 20. Give me, 50 of the
Yeah.
brown, 50 of the olive, and that fly. I mean,
That's
from the
what you fish.
Taylor, from the San Juan to the Pecos, all the way up to the Rio Grande, down to the North Platte, like everything.
Question for you in terms of the San Juan. You mentioned that. Is there a good amount of betas there?
Yeah, they're just really small.
Yeah.
It's like, so here you pick up a rock and you're like, oh, here's some small ones, here's some medium ones, there's a few big ones. But most of them are the medium-sized ones. They're like an 18, 20.
Yeah, 20s.
But then you go to the one and you pick up this rock and you're like, oh, there's a shit ton of betas on it. There's a 22, there's a 22, there's a 22. Oh, whoa, that's a 20.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, shit. So that like 11-10 hook
Yeah.
and a 22 seem to be perfect for those, which kind of rocked out the 200R altogether because they don't go to a 24. So you're kind of stuck because the 22 was too long.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was strange to see that because, they do see blue wings. They see more midge hatches than anything.
Yeah.
But there are blue wings, right?
Is that down lower
I've seen them
or
blow
where
in
at?
certain
Like
years.
above Texas Creek? How much percentage was, or would you
I've
expect to
caught
see?
them on blue wings in Kitty Hole, right there
Okay.
above Texas Hole.
Yeah.
Right, so they do move in, and I don't know if it has to do with wind and temps and stuff, but they're in there, right? But they're just not big. They're seriously throwing a size 20.
So you're throwing a midge and they're eating it as a blue wing,
Yeah.
or a beta nymph, and
Yeah,
you're
it's
throwing
like-
a beta nymph and they're eating it as a midge.
Tying like a light colored Griffith's gnat, even with gray hackle instead.
Yeah.
Like they were different, right? And so I think we're throwing 20s, maybe 18s back in the day before it really got busy there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that
there's
was-
a lot of betas. I would, and I fish it that way. When I show up in the morning, I'm throwing a midge, like an annelid and a midge larger. Like I probably must throw the annelid.
Oh, look at! I just discovered there's a whole bunch of comments on my YouTube page there. Cool. Okay, maybe. Oh yeah. Can you turn up the volume? Sorry about that. That's Bentley. Yeah. So a couple questions on YouTube. Looking forward to 2025. Any trips? We guide trips. Lots of guide trips. More trips we can do.
Trying to get you to the one.
I'm trying to get there. Yeah, it's you know how it is. It's life, and it's just kind of like
Maybe pyramid again in the fall.
yeah. That's a.
If we can
I just need more money. So if you guys got money,
Yeah, if anybody can pick
Fund
one
us.
up for a trip or wants to
Live
see
chat. Let me see.
me
Where
push
does this
one
go?
in Pyramid Lake.
Do I hunt? I don't hunt big game. Nothing against it. I just don't do it.
It's because
I
it
was-
involves walking.
I was telling somebody today, saying, you know, I've never elk hunted like the typical elk hunt, and again, nothing against it. I just don't do it, and I think the whole process of like planning and getting the perfect rifle and sighted in and everything's good to go, and then
think you
doing
would-
it, and then getting to the point where you find an elk, and then you're just like, I think that would be super cool, but after that, I'm like, I'm done. I
The
don't
question
want
is, would
anything
you
to do
eat
with
it?
I mean, nothing against it. I do eat elk, and I have eaten elk
Like,
and
if
all
you
that
went
stuff.
out and
But
shot
would I
it-
put it in my free? No,
No, you
I
wouldn't.
don't. I'm not interested.
Then there's
in
no
that.
reason to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
If you'd eat quail, go hunt quail.
Yeah, I just don't want to deal with. So, like I was saying, I catch a fish, I look at it, take a picture, I show it to my buddy. Hey, look at this. Put it back in the water. I don't have to cook it. I don't have to clean it. I don't have to freeze it. I don't have to store it. I don't have to clean up.
Is that a laziness, or is it because you just don't genuinely like that kind of? You don't
Both.
like fish.
Both.
I know you're lazy, but
Yeah.
you don't like fish and some venison, but you wouldn't eat it enough to.
I'll
eat
go
a whole
over
elk,
to your house, and if you cook it, I'll eat it.
But you wouldn't eat enough to sustain.
Right,
Like
no.
okay. Yeah,
And that's just how it is. I do, prairie dog at my parents' ranch, and there's a lot of prairie dogs, and yeah, got a nice rifle for that. And it's
prairie
fun.
dog strips for zonkers.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll work, but yeah, that's an idea. Let me check and see what else is hiding over here.
They look like my dog.
Your dog's
Prairie dog.
about the size of a prairie dog. Drop shot. Your opinion about drop shot? Yeah, so we've kind of
Time and
touched on
place.
that. I do a lot more drop shot than I do like Euro nymphing. I just find it
Are we
easier.
talking like a tight line? Are we talking under an indicator? Because
So what I'm talking about is Euro rod, mono system, mono
bunch
rod,
of weights at the bottom, everything off tags.
and then up
Okay.
from there, whether you do 2 flies or 3 flies.
I feel like that's good at a place like the San Juan because they're eating small flies and it's only.
Or you can't, you don't have weight to get down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
So-
if you throw the Perdigons and you're fishing 2.3s or even 2.8s and you're just not deep enough, and you can
1.5s
throw some stuff on it, some weight to get down on the bottom.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot, and I think I'm a little more comfortable with that. But versus say what I found out recently is that if you don't have the heavy stuff, and my whole issue is that if you're drop shotting and you can, especially in the winter, San Juan, Pueblo, wherever it may be, you can put 3 small flies with weight and get it in the zone.
And not have to use like a tractor fly, right? You use
I have
three
3
of what
flies,
you think
2 or 3 flies that the fish will eat.
Okay.
My issue with Euro nymphing, especially Pueblo or somewhere, 11 Mile Canyon, any of that stuff, is you got to have an anchor stonefly, let's say. Are they going to eat it in Pueblo? Not
Caddis though.
not so much. And then that leaves you with 1 fly that they may or may not eat. So you're kind of limiting yourself in a sense, is what I feel.
You got caddis and the damsels.
Yeah, you can throw caddis on there, but are they going to eat it that day? That's what it
Yeah,
comes down to.
that's true. And you could run like 3 betas, which I kind of like. I was doing that today. I ran 3 betas, and it was awesome.
Yeah, if
because
you have a 2.2 mil, you got 2, 4, and 6.
we had fish come up for dries today.
Mhm.
It was the first time I saw fish come up for blue wings all year, and I
Yeah.
was so excited. I actually ran 3 betas under an indicator and slid my weight all the way up because I was lazy, and slid my weight to my indicator. Was throwing it out. Dude, they were wrecking. those
Betas with beads or no beads?
The first one had a bead, followed by 2 without.
Okay.
And the first one
Kind
was
of a traditional nymph system.
the first one was technically a Perigon. I call it the Crazy Leg Perigon. I'm gonna post that up too. It was really good because I was talking to somebody and they were like, "Why don't Perdigons have legs?" And I was like, "You know what? I can't give you a justifiable answer, so let's fuck with it." And I can tell you what, I probably caught 10 fish on that fly today, and
Yeah.
that was pretty cool to see a fly that I tied yesterday just get munched.
Yeah.
You know, but it came from somebody else bringing it up. He goes, "Well, why don't you do that to this?" And I'm like, "Why
Yeah.
not?
Do
Let's
it.
see if it works." But that was
Yeah.
that was a really cool learning lesson. But yeah, anytime I see fish can kind of, if I'm seeing tails, I'm probably gonna tie on 3 betas because they're eating something emerging, and usually it's the betas and sometimes the midge, so wader midge, foamy, foamback emerger, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? can be thrown out there. But then I just like fishing betas. I mean,
It's we got a class coming up.
you've got a betas class coming up. Mayflies, that's going to be a nice one. It's going to be a long one. But
So we've done the classes. We've started with the midges back in maybe December.
yeah,
Did that class, awesome. And then we did the second class was leeches, sow bugs, that kind of stuff, scuds. That was a good one. And then we're doing mayflies next Friday night.
yes,
So we're kind of busy. So next Friday night, Anglers Covey, we're doing that. We got people signed up, and there's room for more
I
people.
think we have 4 spots left.
Yeah, and so
And if there's more than that, we will do a Saturday
Second.
class to follow up with that. But it's going to cover just about everything you see in our region as it comes to mayflies and betas. You're going to see how to rig it, how we fish it, how we find out which betas to key in on, which ones to use. Perfect example of that is, there's some pictures we're going to show of us picking up a rock and pointing out what betas we're using, what fly we're using, and how we rigged it and how it performed that day. And so you should be able to leave that class feeling great going into April with all the mayflies and blueing olives starting to come out and hatch. We're going to have a lot of information in this one class.
yeah,
I think typically our classes run about 2 hours. This one will probably push 3 hours. There's a lot
we're
of
just gonna
stuff.
puke a lot of information out. So
A lot of stuff, a lot of cool. The pictures is what's my favorite part of that whole thing is sharing all the picture we take on the river with our bugs in our hand, with the flies, pictures of just bugs that we use while we sit down and tie. We're gonna show all that, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a really good chance to learn or even see what you may think you thought you knew but you don't know. Which seems to be a big case. We have a gentleman that comes all the way up from the Canejos every month for these classes. And he told us he learned more in the first 2 classes and he fishes completely different now.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome, that's so humbling that 1, he drives that far, but
Yeah.
2, that
gets a room. He stays here.
Goes to
Him and his
Costco.
wife, and they get a room, and it's awesome. They go to Costco. His wife goes to Costco. He goes to the class, and he sits there and he asks questions, and he
takes notes.
gets the answers, and he's just like, huh, okay.
You can see him just like, you can watch his brain unfold in his face. And it's the coolest thing. So that we're hoping that more people show up for these next one. It'd be cool to fill this one. This one's gonna be. I think I'm more excited just to share it. I don't.
Yeah, and that it's similar to this. What we're doing here, we give a lot of information here, but we're going to be in front of you, talking, showing, and discussing everything betas, mayfly, and it covers PMDs as well. So it's just not super specific. So there's a lot to cover.
And we can talk tying materials because they're all right there next to us. We walk you through the fly fishing bins and show you which patterns, even if they're not ours, that we favor, what they mimic, when we'll use them during what hatches, and what time during that hatch we actually use them.
Mitch class was awesome. Really enjoyed it. See, there's one right there on YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The Mitch class was our first one. We had a couple guys from, I think it was like one guy from Michigan that was in town, attended the class, and another guy from like North Carolina, South Carolina, something like that. So they jumped on that and they were happy. The feedback's been good. So this mayfly class is going to be good because you got two mayfly nerds basically that are just can go on and on about talking. But we want you to ask the questions, just like we're asking here for questions, just to kind of feel out what you guys are looking for, that kind of stuff. So definitely gonna be cool, I think. And then we follow that up by caddis, right?
Yeah,
So that just rolls into another.
I've already seen some this year that are hatching and flying around.
Yeah, I saw some dark caddis on the arc.
Did you see one get eaten?
Actually, where's Bentley at?
Bentley.
He threw a caddis to a rising fish and fish ate it. So yeah.
Did he set?
I mean, he was slower than weight loss, but yeah, eventually.
Set.
I don't see him here, so we can pick on him a little
Never mind.
Another question here just rolled up. Audio is way better on YouTube. IG has an echo. Good to know. So I don't know why.
Sedge munchers this morning. Yeah, some Shrek eaters.
Yeah, Shrek is on the Arkansas.
I got some pictures of those the other day. You know, the knuckle breaker caddis in green worked really well.
That thing is super simple, but again, it's a guide fly. It's just a
It's
matter of
100%.
like get the right materials, get the right profile,
Yeah.
fish it in the right zone. You're gonna catch fish.
And you just got a new one, the Taxman caddis.
Taxman caddis. So got a few in the shop in Canyon City with Royal Gorge Anglers. Not that many. I need to tie more. But I've been fishing it on the Arc and it's been good. I have a super secret jigged version that I fish personally. I'm not releasing that anywhere.
Oh, you dog.
And that fish good too. So yeah.
Isn't it, like, it's my favorite time of year nymph this time of year, just because
is.
one, you don't have to hit the bottom. You don't have to drag flies. Like, it's more about suspending stuff. It's like now you at that suspending point, you know, like if that leader jumps, it's a fish.
It's been man, again, the wind has just been crazy. So yeah, what do you use it for that? Tell us more.
Actually, I have a little stash. So I use different stuff actually. I like this suede Chanel, the brown olive from Semperfly. Get a little bit closer there. You can see this one has a twist to it and it's almost flat. So I'm able to kind of stand it up and it gives it like a ribbed look, which is pretty cool. And then when it comes to like the olive brown, I like the Hairline Magic Dub, the olive brown. That stuff's awesome. We call it just the easy dub, but that'll work good too. And then you have, you know, any suede Chanel really comes down to play. So Fulling Mill has a good suede Chanel that's a micro. Hairline has a good suede Chanel. It's just about color, right? So looking through the different colors.
Ooh.
Yeah, one just got a sneak peek.
I'll take this one home with me.
Go ahead. I'll just order more. This is where all my paychecks go. There it is. So, Fulling Mill has a good olive suede Chanel. But the key is as you wrap it, you really just want to fold between each wrap. If I'm on the hook, I want to pull back on the fibers as I'm wrapping that Chanel the second time, and do that every time. So that way, you kind of can see the little spacing between each one. So you get this kind of rib effect when it's wet. But this stuff's pretty cool. You ever seen this?
No, so I do my worms with this stuff.
Yeah.
My San Juan worms.
That's another reason I used it.
This
It's
one
just
in the
something we
dark
have,
and
right?
the brown.
Dark brown.
That's what I use.
Chocolate.
The dark brown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I use for worms in a little smaller size.
I typically use the smallest size I can find too. You can always taper your thread under it to make it, you know, appear larger, make it thicker. But this easy brown and the small seems to be the best I found for these flies, because I don't really tie them bigger than a 14. I think would be the biggest I would tie for around here. But it's also cool because this the Semperfly one looks a lot like the buckskin. So you could tie some little buckskins with these, and it's a lot more durable than buckskin, so it's not going to fall apart on you.
Yeah.
Which is my only flaw with that fly.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's take some more questions if you guys got them, and then we're running about an hour and a half or so. So.
I like sage munchers. That's funny.
Yeah. There was a question here. Clink hammers. Let me see on YouTube.
Oof, it's a love and a hate relationship.
Fish clink hammers on the South Platte.
Probably not.
Not true clink hammers in the sense that if you super specific clink hammers, like we'll fish a lot of what I call like the half-ass emergers, where the hook is down below, the body's somewhat down below, and then you got your parachute or whatever it may be up on the surface, and we fish those. So that's kind of in that idea that you're talking about, but not super specific clink hammers.
I think that specific hook on the South Platte, I feel like the South Platte's a very steep river.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fast river. And if you're in anything besides low flows, those fish are going to run downstream on you.
Yeah.
And that hook just doesn't seem, and the sizes we would use specifically,
Yeah.
it does not take it well. So I feel like they bend out a lot, and not necessarily all the way out, but they bend out enough to shake a fish.
Yeah.
Fulling Mill has that dry hook that's really good. It's a barbless hook, but it is stout as hell. It's not going to bend out. Goes to the super dry. Let me see where it is. I have so many damn hooks. You want one?
I'm surprised you know where everything is.
That's just because I live in my desk.
Yeah, I know. That's what I do too.
I should have known. Ultimate Dry.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
That guy right there. I'm gonna show on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that's a good dry fly hook.
Right there.
Especially if you're a catch and release guy. Those they hold really well.
These are good hooks, yeah.
But they
I've used
don't
these.
bend. I've never had one bend out, and I will switch a barb for a hook that won't bend any day.
Yeah. Those are the good ones. What you got there?
Those trigger points with flies. Okay. Well, trigger points come in several different
talk
kinds.
more on those trigger points. Oh yeah.
So we're talking like wing case, emergent, shucks, chironomids. You get perfect example. You get people tying chironomids with ribbit with flash. They rib it with flash for the oxidation that and the gas that goes through it as it's starting to kind of develop and emerge and stuff. Same thing with midges. Same thing with betas. There's always a trigger point of some sort. Something that's breaking off the bug. Something that's changing in color. Something that's a visual, obvious kind of indication that this bug is doing this. Right, and I guess all of our main guesses, while something's emerging, it's at its most vulnerable. So that's what the fish trigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it anyway. So I do white cases on a lot of my betas as a trigger because I'm looking at that wing case starting to fill up with gas or that wing starting to come out. It's something that fish is looking for because I know that one's not going to move, right? It's just going to kind of start going up. It's not going to go anywhere. As the other betas kind of wiggle and dip around and swim. So I feel like it's an easy target, and that's that back on that specific fly, flashback, midges, stuff like that. That's all kind of indicating that wing. And then as you get into like emerging betas, not only you have the wing, but you have the shuck starting to peel away from the body. So body quill tails, wood duck tails, anything striped almost will look like pieces of that exoskeleton coming off, which I think was a big deceiving thing for me coming into tying at a young age. Was I was confused at why some people would call wood duck tail a tail, and some other people would say that wood duck tail is a shuck. And so now it's like I look at everything I see with a striped tail as a shuck.
Yeah.
And it makes you understand that fly a little bit better.
Yeah. And then next stage, you're talking about loop wings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Loop wings been around forever, and like the video I did yesterday was the Slim Shady loop wing. It's nothing new. It's just built on the Slim Shady idea, so it's nothing new. But that's kind of the next stage where they're looking for that big bulging thorax area, that there's stuff happening there. So that's another trigger that you can fish for those, and it works great when the fish are, when everything's emerging. It fishes great, just because they're looking for a specific mid column to upper column drift.
And I feel like it's a tailwater thing.
Yeah.
They're lazy fish. They really just want to eat the easiest target.
Yeah.
So they look for whatever's struggling. San Juanis, the ant hatch.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen an ant hit the water? It ain't coming off, and it ain't landing pretty.
It's not going anywhere.
So you could be the worst caster, and as long as you can throw a nice mend, you can catch fish.
Yeah.
And that's a trigger. Them seeing that thing crash into the water like a cicada and not be able to get off.
And then they move around just a little bit, just kind of,
So you can be throwing ugly mends and twitching it around. They'll still eat it,
because
But
you're doing it right.
but you're in a blue wing olive hatch. If your fly doesn't land sitting with the wings up, they won't eat it. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
But I think tailwaters, they key in on those emerging flies, those flies with a little bit of flashback, the flies that really look like they're staying up high.
Okay, so I really find fish on my high pressure tailwater key in hard on those emergers. Yeah, that's kind of, is that what you're talking about just now? Yeah, I mean, it's just easy pickings. And the numbers that are involved in the hatch are high. And so you have your your either larva in a midge case or a mayfly nymph in a blueing olive hatch, the nymphs are going to be drifting far enough. So their numbers they're getting eaten. The other fish down below are maybe mid-level. They're eating the emergers. And then the upper level, they're eating emergers as well. And then the ones that make it to the surface and turn into duns are less. Because why? Because there's less numbers that are making it.
And two, look at foam. When foam sits on the top of the water, right? The bubbles end up in the eddies and shoved into pockets where they can build up into a bigger foam bubble, and then they finally get washed out and go downriver. Then it happens again. Same thing with emerging bugs. Emerging bugs sit higher up in the water column. They're going to get pushed off to the side seams into the eddies. They're going to be where the fish are, right?
Yeah.
Where, your live betas, your crawling betas are all diving down deep. They're crawling on rocks, and they're not going to pick them off the rocks. Right? They want something they can grab or look up and eat, and those emergers are exactly where they want them.
Yeah. So here's the usual, the fly pattern. Question was about snowshoe hares.
Yeah.
Not hares here. Hares feet, right? The snowshoe hare.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, do we use it around here? We're a little bit different because of the tailwaters. That drives everything,
Fly is ours.
No really use of the usual type. That's the actual name of the fly pattern. No usage of that here on our tailwaters for the most part.
I'm sure it'd be effective in a smaller size.
It would be. And the reason being is because our mayflies are 20s, 22s. We're talking about big mayflies today, 18s. We're like, those are freaking huge. And yeah, it's a big mayfly. So yeah, you can, if they're huge, you can throw something like the usual and maybe get a few fish, but we're talking 20s and 22s on average. So CDC comes into play, and that's my number one go-to on a small mayfly is CDC compare done, CDC thorax done, something like that with a little bit of hackle, maybe a parachute, but that's kind of what we're dealing with. So we're not really fishing those type of flies around here, or at least I'm not. I know you're not.
We're doing like flies.
Yeah, even at that, I don't fish that pattern that much, but
That's bad on you. That's a deadly fly behind another dry anyway. I
Yeah.
don't fish it by itself, but
yeah,
throwing it behind a dry is really good.
yeah.
Yeah, sparse is good, but I will say after seeing some of the bugs in the South Platte, these bluing olives aren't very thin to win anymore. They're more chunky like a monkey, and you're gonna see some flies developed a little different over the next few weeks from what I'm seeing. I don't know if it's different species. I don't know if it's been warmer, so they're just developing a little bit more now. These betas are huge. I got some pictures of some today. I can't wait to share.
And you'll find that what you'll do is, if you're not a prolific fly tyer like this guy here, you might wait and tie some, and then you get on the water in the next 10 days and you don't see those big guys anymore. So I've noticed that with like the Arkansas. They'll eat something one day, and then you go back, and you go home, you tie, and then you go back the next day, you fish it, and nobody will touch it because they switch onto something different.
They ate a betas, now they want a sock tackle.
Yeah.
Now they ate a caddis, now it's a streamer.
Color wise,
It's crazy to see those changes, but to learn from those changes, even though you tied them and then they didn't work today, at least you have them for the next year as you come through.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big part in developing, is being somewhere for over 2-3 years and really starting to follow these trends now. Oh, I needed those like a week ago. I have them now, but I don't need them. Well, I will have them now when I do need them.
Yeah.
And so it's just more of a necessity of knowing that's a bug I should probably keep on me. That's a size I should keep on me. And this is a river I should use them in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you carry them with you, you have them, you might run into that somewhere else, a different stretch of river, different area, something like that. So it's always good to know that. And you have that experience in the back of your head. Like, okay, I ran into this situation. I've already dealt with this, and I'm covered. I already have them tied up. So what does that one say?
So he's more about bigger fish, being picky about those flash points. I throw naturals, man. If I see a big fish, I'm throwing all natural bugs at it and then adjusting towards flashy bugs, because big fish are big for a reason. So, like the San Juan is, I try to avoid flash. I try to avoid, a lot of the trigger points besides a white case. The white case was very unique, I would say. You didn't see it very much anywhere. You know, I guess Stall Cubs betas had like that grayish white medallion type,
Not too flashy,
right? But it wasn't flashy, but it was a color change.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the inspiration behind that, was the color changes can be subtle and still be attracting of fish,
yeah.
where not be so like bright and flashy.
Right.
So a little bit of white versus flash is a lot different than, you know, throwing like a neon wing case.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at our Instagram pages, you'll see our fly patterns, and there's not a lot of flash. So what I'm finding right now, you know, when these fish get keyed in on betas, if you fish a Perigon versus an all-natural, in my case, a Jedi Master with no bead and just black flashback on the back end of it and pretty straightforward, they'll eat both.
Mm-hmm.
But you go to the South Platte, they'll eat both. But at a certain time frame, they won't touch the Perigon later.
Yeah.
They
They'll
get
flip.
a little wise on it. It gets a little bit, doesn't match the profile that they're seeing, you know, as things taper down, and you get there and you're like, man, I caught 20 fish on a Perigon last time and I can't get them to eat it.
After July, they can see beads.
Yeah.
Until
Water gets clear.
Until about October, then they can't see beads again.
Yeah.
It's
It's just stuff you see every day. So, so question on YouTube was how many fish or how many flies do you guys typically take with you on a daily basis?
Don't you pick up my best?
No, right here, yeah. Approximately how many flies do you take with you on a typical day? So again, it varies. If we know we're targeting fish that are eating betas nymphs, you need a handful. Right?
10,000.
You need a handful.
10,000.
And again, if we want to test, we're going to take more. But
All right, go ahead, pick it up. 10,000. I bet you there's 10,000
In here?
No, in that bag right there.
oh, this bag.
That's what I took today. Besides this box.
Yeah, and
And it's overkill, 100%,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
But like I said, it's about changing flies when they're eating to find out what else they'll eat, because they're not always going to eat that. Like you said, they're not always going to eat that same thing. So
yeah,
so your box may start with, oh, these are my top 10 flies for the arc.
yeah,
Well, those top 10 flies didn't work. Now what?
yeah.
You just took that box with you. You don't got nothing else, right? So it's
Yeah.
able to keep going, but it's also to pass them out.
Yeah, and you dial in eventually as you go. You know, our time frames go 5 to 10 days usually what we're doing, and then things change, and then you got another 3 to 5 days, and then somewhere around 5 to 10 days before things change again as we start really guiding.
Yeah.
You might get a bump in water, and so it's all worms and scuds and leeches and that kind of stuff, and then it drops by 50 or 70%, and you're back to small midges where you have to talk those fish into eating them because now the water's skinny. So it just depends. I mean, it always depends on what's going on. Some days you can just get away with a handful of flies, and that's perfect. You know, like the arc I fished, I just did my little pack with a few flies in it, and
Yeah, I feel
it
like
was good.
you can get away with some days on the arc with 3-4 flies, and then some
Uh-huh.
days you need 100 different flies.
Yeah, just to kind of figure it out. So
How do you organize your flies? By species or by style of fishing for the day? I have my jig flies in a box. I have my Perigon flies in a box. I do a Betis box. I have an Annelid box. I have a Caddis box. I mean,
yeah, I've done it caddis.
we have problems.
Yeah, caddis, mayflies, but then that all works for a while, and then you start branching out to like pucks
Yeah.
of flies that you tied last night that you're with, and then
That's like July, where
Then-
you start throwing stuff in pucks.
then
and-
you have pucks everywhere.
Ideally speaking, I wouldn't say we do it by river. Like you try to design a box for that river, and then you're like, oh shit, I wish I had this box for that river because they're eating this beta.
And they cross over.
They do. So it's kind of easier just keeping like your style flies together. Keep your hoppers together. Keep your dries together. You know, small dries together. Keep your streamers together, and go about that way. Because then you're able to open the box like my Betis box. You can open it. There's like 1,000 flies to 5,000 flies in that box. And I can hold one Betis next to it and be like, yeah, that one. and you already know in seconds. Versus, oh, I have to dig through seven boxes, and you may have had the perfect fly, but you didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
So I think that's key too, is knowing what box has what.
So yeah, if you can just kind of have your mayflies, your caddis, and you're not carrying your caddis box if you don't see caddis flies out, or if it's not in season. But you may drop the mayfly box and carry the caddis box and the dry box and the dropper box, depending on where you're at. But it just all depends on what's going on your areas that you're fishing. So, but yeah, that's a good question.
I do.
Got a couple more minutes, probably 5, 10.
That means Juan's getting hungry.
Dude, I'm starving. I ate breakfast this morning and then I didn't eat anything today. So yeah, I'm starving.
Who wants to bring Juan tacos? Free flies for anybody who brings us Taco Bell.
Delivery. Next 10 minutes. Get it. We'll take it. Question right there. What does that say? Really like watching your
Short time.
short time, but yeah. Great fishing in Colorado. There definitely is. A lot of people, man. It's just getting crowded. It is really pretty heavy this year. So yeah, patience, like we were talking about earlier, patience, and people are doing the wrong things, just let them know
It's
and
getting
then go
better.
from there.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's less people. It's just people are caring and listening.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily listening to us, but they're listening, right? There's less. I say there's less crowding, just noticeably less. Not saying there's a huge change in the world, but
It
there's.
depends on the day too.
I feel like there's noticeably less. Like Deckers has gotten better. Like I can tolerably go fish Deckers and not lose my mind. Where last year, if a client wanted to go there, I tried everything not to because it was just.
And I think a lot of
headache,
people are branching.
which is
Like
great.
I said, there's more people in the Arkansas now. There was a lot of people in Pueblo this winter. It just grows every year more and more. And then now they're starting to branch out in different areas, I think. And
But even Pueblo, like there's more people down there
there's
now.
going to be more Stillwater opening too.
Exactly. It's more Stillwater opening, but there's more groups doing cleanups. There's more groups doing things though, which I think is a huge thing that's not
Yeah.
really talked about at all.
80-20 rule. 80% of the fish caught by 20% of the people. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of people that just, I see, other people see, and they just don't know how to fish. It is true. It is very true.
COVID did boom it a little bit, but I feel like COVID just kind of came at the time that it was booming as well. It became a show off type thing for a while where people just, coworkers would go out with other coworkers and fish and just to talk shit. And I feel like it's starting to fade away from that. It's like the people that really like are into the sport or sticking around, and it's like the people that were just like, my dick's bigger than yours, are starting to fade out of the industry. Which I've noticed that more parking spots are open on the river. I've had about 5 cars that I have their license plate written down. It's just guys that would get up early, go camp in the same hole every day, and they would go stand in the same spot and probably fish the same flies.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating because it's a hole that was good for like if you and me took 6 people out. But there's this guy standing in the middle of it, and you're like, man, and he doesn't move.
Yeah.
Like, and there were situations like that. I haven't seen those cars this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like people,
Well,
like you said, are spacing out. They're moving around.
Yeah,
fishing
spacing
new
out.
waters.
If you kind of keep a pulse on Facebook Marketplace, you see how much stuff is sold
Yeah.
and see what people are doing. It's kind of a good indicator.
Yeah, Boulder Creek. Yeah, I feel that, except Cheeseman.
What is that one? I have had anywhere but a mile in, yeah.
Cheeseman, I don't care
Cheeseman.
how long the hike is. It's always fucking.
I've only been there once this year, and it was the Saturday after the fly fishing show, and it was super nice.
There was more people parked at Cheeseman
amazing.
than there was from Deckers to Trumbull
today.
today.
Yeah. Well, Cheeseman, I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. I don't understand exactly that.
It's pretty, but damn.
Yeah. I get guide trips in Cheeseman, and I've come out of there and said I could have got my ass kicked just as easy in Deckers with a lot less work.
Yeah, with a lot less walking.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go eat 12 tacos and fucking drink
up
6
for that.
beers to make up for dinner. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Well, where it is great to walk, which like you said, it's nice to get away from people, go to some places you can hike to. That's awesome, and it's awesome for us lazy people that don't want to, and we get a break at Deckers because more people went up the mountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Sometimes if you want to be alone, you need to work for it. You need to go find it. But there are so many places you can go here with very few people.
Yeah.
And there are places you won't hear come out of our mouths because that's why they're that way. But places like Deckers, places like the Upper Ark, places like Pueblo, the places we mention aren't new. They're places that everybody fishes. They're places that we see are crowded, so we know everybody fishes them. And they're places that it doesn't matter how many of you guys are out there that, you can show up at noon to get on the water and still catch a few fish.
Yeah.
And so it's not intolerable, I would say, but I feel like, people are spacing out. People are, giving people each other more room.
Yeah. And, I only got one report from Ontario yesterday was that it was just people everywhere. Nobody caught fish.
Well, that's typical
But that's
ice
yeah,
off.
Yeah, ice off conditions.
Depends which way the wind blows and who peed in the water.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah, a few more questions, a couple more, and then we'll head out.
Well, I'm getting hangry.
I'm getting angry, man.
Should have got you some Cheetos. You know how you like your Cheetos?
No, we do these. We love them. We
We do.
like interacting. We like you guys coming on here asking questions. You like hearing what's going on, and we like giving a lot of information that maybe you didn't think about or never thought about, didn't know about. And that's basically what we do. Is that when we guide people, we give them information because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, and I keep going back to that. Find somebody that's pretty damn smart and hang out with them. And that's the way you learn stuff.
Yeah, I think it's important, and it's kind of crazy. I think is when we're on guide trips and we get humbled by how much people don't know,
Yeah.
and we thought was like, oh, you don't know that? Like, you don't know what a Baetis is? Like
Yeah.
to us, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's like you should know what everybody knows what
Yeah.
a Baetis is.
Yeah.
Like if you know what a lemon is, you know what a Baetis is.
Yeah.
Like no, it's not true, and it's really humbling to like meet people that go, oh, you know a lot about this, and you're like, oh, you
Yeah.
just really don't know anything about this.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Really respect you guys and your fly patterns. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Big fan of both. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, man, that's like we're saying. So, again, just throwing a pitch for next Sunday, Colorado Springs Metric Brewing, Fly Time Get Together.
Come to our fly class Friday.
Friday
and
night
then
before that. Yeah.
Come eat with us Sunday. You can almost spend the whole weekend with us for nearly free.
Yeah, and you can look at his fly boxes and see what he has and see what he. But really, it's awesome to just see somebody tie that you have never seen tie, and you learn stuff from them, and it's pretty awesome. I mean,
Watching someone tie, you learn so much more than hearing them tell you how.
yeah,
Or watching a video even. You see them in real time tie something, you're like, oh, wow, he unspun that thread. I didn't even notice.
or he broke his thread.
Yeah. I hate when that happens.
It happens though.
As soon as someone turns a camera on your fucking fly, it's like, snap.
It happens. I mean, it's just the way it goes. So, but yeah, Metric Brewing Sunday, next Sunday, the 29th.
At
not
what
tomorrow.
time?
1 p.m.
And we will post it.
We will post it. It'll be around. We will do that. And then the next week, which I think is the 6th, pizza wagon there. That's what I'm really looking forward to. That's what I want to do. Because the pizza is, it's that wood-fired oven pizza. Damn good.
If we're lucky, why don't we get some green chili that we can throw on?
Ooh.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm all in on that one. So, but yeah. So yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in for listening to us talk for a while, and this is the most talking I do for
Yeah, for
a
weeks.
month.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't do it till
Well,
the
our
next time.
class we talk a lot too. So
We're getting there. We're starting to hatch that shell a little bit, shed that exoskeleton, if you will.
yep,
Get that loop wing
Yeah.
emerging.
little prairie dog. So no, we appreciate you guys, and we love this, and we thank you, and it's all good.
Appreciate you, Randy. Randy's gonna be there Friday, so we'll see him.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, he's on that 6-pack
Yeah.
tour.
A lot of people signed up for more than one of the classes. It's been really cool.
Yeah.
I have to do it again next year.
we'll do it again next year and go through it, and everybody be all learned up and everything. And but the ones that want to take it, yeah, you can sign up. But yeah, it's good stuff, man. Cool. Be good.
All right, guys. Well, until next time. Have any questions? Definitely shoot us a message, or if you just want to say hey.
Yeah. Otherwise, we may see you out there. Hopefully on Friday and hopefully on Sunday.
Cool. Yes.
All right, guys.
All right. We'll see you.
See ya.